Okay, hello everyone. This is OK here, and we're going to be doing some commentary on the last match from round one of season 6 of the Crazyhouse League, which is a team league competition. And it's players play 2 games. Since this is board 6, they've played 2 games of 10 plus 10. So if we go back to the beginning, you find colwem is white for the game 1, so he'll be back in game 2. And he's playing knight f3, so a delayed d4, and then fianchettoing and castling. So the square to watch out for immediately is in the weak square in white's position is going to be h3, so he's immediately done something about that. So I'll just put in the link. And hopefully Lichess is picking up that I'm streaming, and in any intermission I'll show you the standings. Actually we're doing very well so far. We're 10-2 up this round between our 2 teams. This is the board 6 matchup between colwem and fgalla, but every game matters in that for tiebreaks games 1 counts. In the meantime, here we have a 7-7 draw between Shaka Zulu and the Loch Ness Monsters, and between Zigzag Team and Pawn Pulverizers. Pawn Pulverizers have taken it 8.5 to 5.5. But we can say more about some of these games later. Let's just focus in on this game. So as I said, we have sort of a delayed d4, d5 with g3, so it's like a Catalan system, which is slightly unusual in Crazyhouse. One has to be slightly concerned about the h3 square. There are always potential sacks on this square, putting a pawn on g4. And just checking Lichess is recognizing the stream, so yay, we're featured on Lichess. So welcome viewers to this Crazyhouse League match. fgalla has played h6, so he's trying to prevent the bishop coming out to g5. Always something to watch out for with h6, it does weaken the g6 square. So black will never want to push f6 and h6, but actually here this is quite good. It's giving the bishop even a retreat if ever white wants to come chasing after that bishop, for example, with this sort of move. So it's actually very solid, I think, in this position. It's a good move. So here with bishop d6, you can see there's a slight loss of tempo because the bishop's moved twice in the opening. These pawns wouldn't be very solid doubled pawns, so if you had a piece you might just put the piece here, but we don't have a piece in hand. So, oh, okay, we have the knight. Okay, so he puts the knight in on that square, so that's reasonable. So I was thinking you should either take that bishop, or the move he's done is nice as well. And the idea of this move is that if that knight is ever taken, you end up with a pawn on the 5th rank, so in your opponent's half of the board. So as long as you can support that pawn adequately, at the moment it would have 1 defender, so that's good, and 1 attacker. So one line might be something like this. Sometimes black might want to do something like this, attacking this pawn, but of course that square is covered. So this is reasonable. There's always also a threat this knight can go and just grab this pawn, and that's attacking the queen, so the king would have to take it and then put the pawn here. It's just an exchange. You lose a piece for a pawn, and then you win back a piece for a pawn. Again, this is very similar to the earlier idea in the previous position, where black has this idea of takes and pawn here. And so you have to just assess, is this an improvement to the position or not? Okay. So knight takes pawn is on if you want it, but you have to try and figure, is it really making progress? Well, the other question, so for the moment it's a chess game, so in that it is a chess game, you have to think what are good developing moves. So stuff like this maybe. You might think of pushing the e-pawn, but pawn is actually providing quite good coverage of f3. And f3 is important to protect because e4 is not protected, so black can always put something on e4. So it is good to have some kind of coverage on f3. I mean, e3 is interesting. It does open up the queen. But I don't think the queen can go anywhere for a while. So yeah, so in this sort of position, it's quite dense. We have no piece in hand. We could always pick up a knight, but then you should always think, if you're thinking of taking a piece, what would I do with that piece? And if you don't really have any use for it, then there's no point in taking it. So you could take the knight and put a knight back here, but then you have to consider, have you improved your position or worsened your position? And in a way, black's position is actually quite cramped in a way, and you'd be exchanging in effect this knight here for this knight here, and that doesn't feel like that great an exchange. So this I prefer. It's a good move, putting more pressure on these dark squares, and it makes the threat actually of this in future a little bit stronger, because then pawn here is threatening them to take here, and there are a lot of pieces focusing on. So basically, colwem has identified this d6 square is going to be the key to making progress into fgalla's position, and that's good. It's a good understanding. So yeah, knight takes f7 is a bit of a so knight takes f7. You'd kind of have to take it with queen or king, probably with the queen. Pawn here. If the knight were to go somewhere like this, here, at least that way you're not hitting the queen if the queen takes it. And the problem is something like knight takes bishop, you then have the knight takes pawn intermezzo check. So yeah, this is a very good move. In fact, it is the move I would play in this position, knight to b5. So what should black do, indeed? Castles seems a reasonable option. Taking on here maybe is not so strong, because then when you take back, there are threats here and here, and it's hard to defend both. So very nice play actually from colwem so far. Trying to work out what should black play here. Can't do this because then a7 would hang. So c7 is indeed a. Okay, so he chooses to just castle. So my question here is, does this work now? It's tempting, but does it work? I would go for it, I think. Well, we'll see. So who do we have in chat? Not that many people yet. Okay, so he goes for taking this one first. Yeah, I think knight takes f7 was strong. Not only do you severely weaken g6 in future, but you're coming in on d6. Whereas this way, he's taking back with the pawn, and you're not getting the same bite into the position as if this bishop could. If knight takes pawn first, then pawn here, you're getting you had three pieces hitting on d6. Bishop could go a step aside. Yeah, the bishop could step aside, but then you're taking the knight, and you've got two pieces aiming on this square. So it felt like knight takes f7 was good. Here it should be just pawn takes without any thought, because you have to think about reinforcing this e5 square. I'm surprised more people aren't actually watching this match. It's the last Crazyhouse League match. Okay, it's nothing riding on it in terms of the match result. Team 12 team has won against Don't Hit Me with H6 from fgalla, and it's not it's not it's not like the board ones or board twos or something playing against each other, but it's quite an exciting matchup. It's the captains of the two teams against each other. And Colwem is indeed the guy who programs the ZH League website. So yeah, so now here it's not clear how to make progress. So taking the knight seemed forced, and a sack on d6. Sack on d6 is actually, yes, we can still make progress in this position, and the way we make progress is we sack on d6 and go pawn at e5. So let's see. Yeah, I haven't got many people in the stream in yet, so I don't know why. Maybe I'll just quickly message that I'm streaming this. But I think maybe it's coinciding with the weekly Crazyhouse, so maybe people are not very good at typing when I can't see what I'm typing. Let's see if that works. That should work, yes. And that's so I can see what's going on. Okay. So back to the game. So we started with 10 minutes apiece. We're down to 3 or 4 minutes apiece. And I think, so ideas here would be takes here, it doesn't really work here, feels like it makes good progress and gets in on the dark squares. White's position is safe, he can afford to do that. Okay, so instead he's going for trying to undermine the dark squares like this. I think okay, this is reasonable, but I still think this is good. I mean, black can defend in quite an active way simply by putting a knight here, and now, yeah, actually the d6 sack still works, because pawn here would fork 2 knights. Okay, so he defends the knight. So there's a question, do you want bishops or knights? And actually, bishops are quite useful pieces to work in on these dark squares, so I would hold on to the bishops for a little bit at least. So, yeah, actually this is reasonable. Knight here. I don't think white would ever want to take this knight because it would weaken his own kingside far too much. So knight here is a slightly more active defense, perhaps. Maybe he thought it could be kicked away more easily. Knight h7 is solid. Yeah, I mean this is begging to be taken. Pawn here, then takes here. Knight here. And just keep up the pressure. What else could we do in this position? Okay. So he doesn't see the sack, and so he's just he's using his pieces in hand, which is good. But we're going to get a really tense encounter. So if black let him take here, yeah, this pawn structure wouldn't be so good, I don't think. And also we get another bishop, and as I said, I think diagonals are good to work into black's position. So this is a tense encounter. I think it's worth staying up on the clock, because this game has gone 14 moves and could go quite a long way further. I imagine the move fgalla is going to do is either go here or back off. Here makes sense, actually, because if you take, you're taking back with the knight, and it's actually perfectly reasonable. But maybe he was afraid of just f3. f3 feels weakening of the dark squares, though, around white's king. So he just backs off, and that also is perfectly reasonable. The point of backing off is it's then asking that knight, well, what were you doing there? think exchanges are good. So even this, it does weaken the structure a lot, but it just pushes forwards with white's pawn. So I think even that is reasonable. And actually, it also puts pressure on h6. Now this exchange, no, it's not awful. Well, so we still have this idea. We also have ideas of knight g4 and sacking on h6. So we've seen a trade of a bishop for a knight. Okay, I like that move. So yeah, this is, see, and by taking, he's just letting white make progress. The knight on e3 was kind of terrible. So by taking, it's almost letting him make progress. But then if you didn't take, this threat was taking on here. So taking on here or taking on here. So I can understand why he did take, but okay, now the pressure is here. f6, and he's found it. Knight f6 picks up the queen, and fgalla, unfortunately for him, has walked into losing the queen for a piece and also severely undermining his king side. So that's really well found. Hi there, Royal Maniacs. White's queen is just defending right now, but it's better to focus on the king side, right? Yeah, so in this game, in Crazyhouse, everything is all about the king. So there's the point of playing on the reason I was suggesting, by the way, bishop takes pawn and pawn here. You can sometimes pick up pieces, so there's a pawn here, mate threat, which has to be defended against. So that's why it looks like, oh, he just let the queen run away. But no, if the queen runs away, there's pawn here, checkmate. So black's queen actually, he has to defend the mate. He can't go and save his queen. So nice find there. And was there anything else? Yeah, it made sense, because king here, knight takes queen, then the threats are greater on the king. So king h8 makes sense, because it's safer for the king. But bishop takes pawn, okay, he defends the mate threat. So he can now just grab the queen if he wants to. He might think, oh, I don't need the queen just yet, but he could, for example, go pawn here first, takes, king takes, and then grab the queen. And then that's also reasonable. And that comes with a mate in almost two threat, or mate in three threat, with pawn here, queen here, and well, it's not exactly mate in two. Queen here, rook here, it's almost mate in two. Queen might just come back around. It's mate in about 4 or something. Okay, so now is the time when I always recommend, always leave at least a few minutes on your clock in this slow, crazy house. King h7, what is even the failed idea behind it, says Royal Majax. He was worried about h6. He was worried about a sack on h6. So takes, which in Crazyhouse, a piece is worth roughly 2 pawns, so that was a valid threat. The way to defend would probably be something like bishop at g5. And then if you don't take it, he takes the bishop. If you take it, takes here. And just try and push your pawns forward. This is not good. And suddenly he's on the defensive. So he's defending with the bishop. Okay, so this is the kind of time when, yeah, this makes sense. So you're losing a pawn, but you're keeping initiative is the point of this move. And actually, you could just even go bishop here, because if takes, king takes, you even got the possibility of the queen at some point coming in. So even though you're losing the bishop for a pawn, you might have the queen coming in. I mean, I can't see exactly how, but let's see. It felt it was opening up the queen. Let's see. Yes, I'm not seeing mate immediately, but here you could just sack. Very good sack, because if king takes, queen here, and queen here, checkmate. So there we're seeing a mate. Yeah, he finds that move, brilliant. Taking is no good, because queen here and swing across is checkmate. And he has a rook as well, so he should definitely, even if he doesn't find that, queen here and rook here is checkmate. This is okay, it covers the escape routes, so it will also do the job. So colwem takes game 1. Fantastic result. against the higher rated opponent. And that takes our match score to something like 11 games to 2 between our two teams in this round 1 of the Crazyhouse League. Yeah, bishop at g5 or knight at f5 indeed would have been better to defend. So fgalla as white goes for this e4, e5 push, and hopefully colwem knows that this knight is not something you should be worried about. You should just play either d6 or d5, by which I mean if you take this knight, you take back with the pawn, you actually get quite a safe kingside. So yeah, so thanks Royal Maniacs for as you say, keeping the commentary alive. And congratulations for winning the Racing Kings World Championships. I was enjoying watching your stream earlier today. Fantastic result. So Cole, I'm just saying in chat, oh man, I don't remember if I'm supposed to sack my knight for king safety. He doesn't like the idea of sacking his knight. I think the point is it's not a bad thing. So if you go d5, and often white won't even take this knight. I suspect white is just doing this for space and plans just to go d4 next. If he does take the knight, you see he doesn't even take the knight. If he does take the knight, to be honest, it opens up the bishop nicely with tempo, because we never had to push the e-pawn, it was just done for us. So we get a tempo, and we get f6 safe. So it means the only entry square into the black king side would be h6. This casting would be quite safe. Yeah, so this, I mean, he's just going to go d4. So white's got a huge space advantage this game. So this is not good opening-wise from colwem. Maybe he can salvage it with d6. So just really insisting. I'm not sure if he can. Let's see. So there are 2 pieces at the moment, and after d4 there'll be 2 pieces defending. So you could really just go in. I'm just going to insist on this, d6. Unfortunately, white can just defend again. So white's got a big space advantage, and he's not doesn't seem to be overextended quite. And hi there, Joey Tries as well in the chat. We're slowly coming more alive. So just to give a quick recap, this is season 6, round 1 of the Crazyhouse League. These are the pairings between our 2 teams, and you can also my own match. We tried to schedule it twice, but my opponent unfortunately didn't arrive either time. And that's a pairing between these 2 teams. It's a 7-7 draw. And then a pairing between these 2 teams, the Zigzag team and the Pawn Pulverizers, led by GSVC. So, and after this game, I might also just quickly show you some of just 3 other games that have taken place in the last week. Interesting. So I think d4 would have been obvious here and just maintain white's control and space advantage. Yes, there is a command, but with this move, I'm very happy with black because we won a pawn. Okay, so development-wise, obviously we're not very happy at all. This is almost like a joke of a position where we just take on our knights out, and we haven't just developed at all, but we are a pawn out. Now, in response to how to chat in the spectator room, the answer is you type \W, and then your text turns green, and then you can start typing. And so the opponent can't see it, but we can, yeah. Okay, so d5, okay, we're going to get our development going. And where does this knight go? I think it goes here or back here. Because we care about our king side, we might go here. It would seem to make sense. And also because this knight actually could swing to here. So that's a quite nice little circuit. But that's just a long-term plan. Much more important is to try and get our pieces out. There's no use just use the pieces in pocket. You can't forget those in Crazyhouse. But okay, we're going to hit him with h3 is also an idea. So we've got two ideas. Do we develop? So e6, or do we hit with h3? Notice it's almost not worthwhile bringing this bishop out, because what we want to do is hit him with h3 and then bring the bishop out with tempo by taking back. So h3 is a developing move. Colwem says, please no at h3, question mark. Yeah, this is quite a good move, this bishop here, because it stops black from developing. But I think it fails to recognize, maybe there's nothing you can do about it, that what black wants right here is at h3, get the bishop out, and then maybe go e6. Obviously you can't go e6 because the bishop, but just do this first, and then we'll think about what to do about this bishop. Maybe even just go pawn here, and slowly develop. Yeah, the one square one has to be a little bit concerned about in black's position here are these light squares here and here. Like if black ever were to lose this bishop, and I mean imagine if white had a knight here. Okay, so it's not realistic because the knight could hit here. Imagine if white did have a knight here, however, targeting these two squares. The bishop had just sort of got distracted. We could have like pawn here immediately winning the queen, for example. And because these two squares are weak, ooh, interesting. He went, oh, ooh. So he really, I mean, this is very solid. And as I said, the one weak square in the position is e6. So you want to at some point push e6, definitely. But why not at h3? Takes. And as long as the bishop's there, there's still some coverage. Maybe he was concerned if this takes, then at e3. I don't think white had enough material. I think going for the at h3 would have actually worked lovely. Knight at f4 is an option to prepare for at h3 ideas. It is, but it can just be taken. So that's actually a wonderful thing also about this knight, is it's not only coming into an attack, but it's also stopping white from defending that easily. Defending actively. Now this is very solid, I have to admit, but we only had one pawn in our hand, and now we can't do at h3, so it's slightly sad. And going knight at h3 doesn't. There's no follow-up for knight at h3. There's a nice idea, by the way, which I just saw just before this game. Suppose we had a bishop targeting h2 and a queen which was also just ready to come out. Then in those circumstances, knight at h3 can actually be quite powerful, because if you take it, we're happy, we open you up. And if you don't take it, you go king here. We can go knight takes f2, check, rook takes, and then bring our queen out to here. So remember, we go on knight takes f2, rook takes, queen out to here, and then we have a double threat on h2 and on that rook. And it's kind of difficult to defend both. I mean, you could do something like rook here, but then we take the rook. So this is sort of the kind of ideas you get in Crazyhouse. So Joey Try says, am I going to have to play these guys? And the answer is yes. Is this your... Because this isn't your original streaming account, is it? So I thought it was a fake you when I first saw Joey Try copying you. Yes, you are going to have to play. These are on board 6, and you're going to have to play these guys. Both of them. Unless something weird happens and one of them has to pull out 1 week. Is that your streaming account? I'm just trying to work it out. Anyway, I trust it is. Okay, so colwem, playing very nicely, but very solid. I mean, so what I was thinking here is at h3 takes, bishop takes, pawn at g2, maybe takes, and either takes back or goes straight in with something like at e6 kind of ideas. That would be sort of, but in order to do that, you then have to be ready to capitalize on at f7, and the knight is actually doing a good job defending. So yeah, I feel that, so I was looking, is at e6 dangerous? And I think it's not that dangerous. So I think he could have gone on an attack there. So when he checks the engine afterwards, I think it will like at h3 there. So it's your work computer account. I see. Cool. So well played, Joanna Trice, earlier today, winning 2-0. against Tnan123, a lovely guy from the west coast of the US, who stepped up at very short notice to arrange a match. And in game one, I told him after the match, yeah, game one he was in control, and it was very hard for you, Joanna, to develop. And his mistake was trading pieces. If he just kind of made you sit in this position where it was very hard to develop, then I think he could have just kind of pressed. It would have been quite hard. It was very hard for you to get your pieces out, but by trading it allowed you to kind of to breathe and get your pieces out, and then you could attack him, and then it was all over. And then game two, I think his mistake was sacking his queen, and the queen was too much. Okay, so I have to explain to PKR that it's their team name that they just chose earlier today. Don't hit me with at h6. Is the team name that fgalla and team have chosen. And I think he should have played at h3. Okay, well he's done it now. Okay, woohoo! So now he's even developed actually. So this is really good. He doesn't have. Yeah, so the bishop's actually doing a good job defending. So let's see. If takes, white can just go pawn back here. Takes, king takes. And you don't have at g5, but what you do have now, because you've developed, is you have straight away e4. And this is very nice play. This is very nice play from colwem. This is like you have there's no need to castle even. You have your bishops beautifully controlling. Bishops and pawns beautifully controlling the center of the board. This move, how did that come about? Because that's stopping the knight from developing to its natural square. So Joey says, yes, thanks, he was very nice. I made so many opening mistakes. In game one, yes. In game two, it looked good. Yeah, so what was the idea of this? I guess he was afraid of d4, but by doing, and he could never move the knight here because of d4 as well. But by doing this, he's made his development a lot harder. So at h3, beautiful move. Yeah, so it will be takes, takes. Takes, takes, and probably at g2 again, maybe. Takes, takes, and then push e4. That's one idea. What else? Oh. Yeah, so of course, in America, it's still people should be working, like Joey and PKR in the chat here. So that's completely fine. So you get pawn at g2. He's going to take it, and actually, this knight is coming. This is actually really dangerous because we have two knights. So if bishop takes pawn, king takes bishop, I was suggesting e4, but now I look more closely. He also has knight here. And the queen is coming in as well, potentially. No, it's not, because the bishop covers. But he has knight here. If the king goes back, we have knight at h3, king here, and at g2. So after knight here, which also cuts off the king from going there, he probably has to come up to here, to here or here. After which, actually the bishops are doing quite a good job defending. But the knight, remember, is defended by the queen, so it's uncomfortable, for sure. It's uncomfortable for sure, it's not the end of the world, but you have a king on h3 or g3. So PKR says, new players play at g2 too often in this kind of position. And so I replied to him, yeah, I'm a bit of a newbie and I would too quite often. So it's a good point here. White probably had a better defense. Instead of at g2, doing something like bishop here, and if black chooses to take the rook, good, take back. But the thing, it's not that, I mean, then black gets pawn at g2, and do you take it then, or do you go rook here? So I would actually go pawn at g2, strangely enough. But maybe, yeah, maybe it is wrong. I mean, I said the alternative is black gets pawn at g2 is the problem. And if you take then, you're in the same position, except now bishop takes pawn, bishop takes bishop, queen, king takes bishop. Now even more pieces have been traded off. You don't have the same defense of f3. And if you just move the rook across, then you have this structure which you're going to have to deal with for the rest of the game. You're going to have to try and unpick it somehow. Maybe you can, as we go up with the knight here, unpick this and so on. So yeah, it's tough. Yeah, now it's also very scary. So Deadban in chat saying that, yeah, he would never go at g2, and playing g2 for white was very wrong. I'm not sure, but because, yeah, maybe you're right, but the alternative is you're going to have to move the rook aside, and black gets this bishop pawn structure inside your, just next to your king, which is going to be quite tough to deal with. And then Royal Maniac says, I tend to go knight f4 instead of h4 in such a position. Absolutely, good move. Is having an extra bishop in your pocket after trading on f4 not weighing up against not having a knight to put on h3? Or why else do you want to go attack via h4 instead of f4? You want to go... Okay, so yeah, why would you want to... Okay. Because the problem is, if knight at f4, you could go knight at f4, but then you'd have to leave this knight at home. Knight at f4, the point of knight at f4, you can just drop back and he's safe. The reason why knight here is dangerous is you can use the existing knight. So the reason these squares are undefended, that's why I said you attack by it here. Obviously, if you're defending, if this e5 pawn wasn't here, this knight wasn't here, this is a great defending square because it defends those two, and then you can leave the queen and bishop to defend here. But for attacking, the reason why you often want to attack from here is because you're stopping the king from running towards the center. Okay. I mean, this is creative, for sure. So actually, I need to actually focus on this position a little. So I really like this move. It's saying I don't want to waste a pawn even. I want everything for the attack. Very good. And then with this move, he's actually even eyeing pawn at d7. As well as obviously wanting to take back this bishop. Hi there, Jamalo, who played in Season 5, and who is also an alt in Season 6. So if we had two knights, then knight here and here might be an idea. So just to finish answering Royal Maniac's question, yeah, the problem with knight here, it's true if he takes, then we have an extra bishop in hand for the attack, but white doesn't need to take that knight. He just drops back, and then this knight is just not in the attack. But also the reason I said why knight here is often better is that it cuts off the f3 square, whereas here, yeah. And yeah, but f4 is also an option sometimes. Okay, but now this is an issue. Okay, d7 is an issue. Ooh, I don't know about that. So he's completely ignored d7. Okay, that is brave. And by ignoring it, he's basically saying if you take, my king is safe. And he's actually right. And you have to do a quick check of pawn and knight checks. And he is lucky that there are no knight checks into that king. It's defended. And there are no pawn checks. There's a bishop check, but he has pawns in hand. He can just block that with the pawn. So this is actually okay. So this is a slightly scary situation where white could get an exchange of queens, but there's no way I can see of capitalizing on that. And in the meantime, obviously exchange of queens this would be a problem, but it's easy to defend, just bishop takes bishop. Actually not so easy, because knight here then would become an issue. So yeah, so this is actually a very critical position, because white has this, so why do I say he has the option of exchange of queens? Because if this and king here, that has to be bad, because the king here is blocking up the bishop. There could be knight checks maybe, like so. If you go here, bishop here, eventually you'd have to step into the diagonal of this queen, and then there'd be discovered checks. So all kinds of trouble would arise from this at d7 entry. So Royal Maynard says yes, there'd be no reason for him to take with the bishop and dropping back his favour. Exactly, yes. And then you find you have one less piece for the attack. So this is very interesting. We've got a rook. So the interesting thing about a rook is we can always waste one of white's pieces by putting a rook here. Although actually white could go here. That would be very annoying because the rook doesn't have anything to do on the back rank. It's got nothing to take or anything. So I think this has to be addressed. Okay, it doesn't have to be addressed because this is safe, but okay, he's leaving this entry square, which is okay. I mean, maybe one could take the argument that a queen trade benefits you because you're threatening queen here check, pawn here check, and getting in on the back rank. It's certainly leaving white that option of getting in on d7. Yeah, what should white do here? I mean, attacking the bishop is interesting, but obviously it's a slightly misplaced attack because the one weak square in the position is g2. It's not that it's a bad move; it's a perfectly decent move, but it's not making progress on g2 in a way. And we see both players under 2 minutes, under 90 seconds even. PKR says white has d7 ideas, but they don't work. Yeah, not yet, but it's looming, indeed. Okay, knight here. Now it's very important that you take that knight. This is critical. You don't want any pieces in your half of the board in Crazyhouse. It's like a general principle, but in this particular position it's even more critical because pawn here is a serious threat. If you take, queen takes is mate. If you don't take and go here, that king is just going to get mated very soon. Okay, brilliant, he takes it. Very well played. Now that bishop is slightly annoying, stopping back from castling, and remember at d7 is still a threat, a very serious threat now because queen takes, king takes, queen here, check, king here, and that king is almost mated. It's pawn here, check, king here, and a second pawn or bishop here, checkmate. So at d7 is actually a mate threat. Brilliant. He spots this diagonal is absolutely crucial to block. And what are the other entry squares in the position? Suddenly it's the dark squares which are weak. But this one is covered. So actually the only entry square in the position is here. And you see white is trying to undermine the one piece that's covering e7. So one way of approaching this would be to try and attack this piece, like a knight here, for example. Might be an idea. A back rank check is interesting, but I'm just worried about where that rook would go. If you block, what next? I'm not sure. Knight here seems to make some kind of sense. Okay, that's also a very interesting move. Yeah, absolutely. Meet an attack with a counter attack. Absolutely. So Dionysotes Rex. Non-zero chance we wanted pawn at f3 instead of bishop takes f1 a bit earlier. Pawn at f3. I feel like f3 was too well protected, but interesting idea. Okay, this is interesting. He's giving up the queen. And notice these squares are protected, so what's the idea? That seems hard, because now there's a mate threat. There's a mate threat, and there's also a sack. If you try and block the mate threat, if they try and block on g2, you can just sack, and you have knight and queen almost surely mating. So you'd have to block on g3, but then there's queen here, check ideas. And in the meantime, there's no mate threat on black. I don't see anyone. So, hi there, Joe tries. Wow, they're really using their time. I need to take notes. And KZ1337, my commentary is helpful. Thanks. Jamala, they're playing well. I need to take notes. Okay, this interesting. I'm very concerned. Does white have blockers for the back rank? And so queen here threat check is an idea. He'd have to block. Okay, there's no immediate mate threat. Fortunately, the square is covered, but now he has to do something with his pieces. He can get in on the back rank. I think he could have put the queen there, check first. But now he's got 28 seconds on the clock and he has to find it. Okay, and this is going to be tough. Oh, I think he's found, oh, the bishop covers the knight checks. That's all the knight checks you take on g1 are covered by the bishop. So this is actually really tough, because that would be the instinct, is take on bishop and do a knight check. But we've got two knights. We've got two knights, so we can distract one and then get the other one in. This is actually very powerful. That bishop is an overloaded defender. Can't guard both at once. Okay, and now there should be a mate. Rook here, check, and queen here, checkmate. Yes. So rook here, check, queen here, checkmate. Oh, but there's no rook. Oh, God. So got to go with the queen. Got to go with the queen, and maybe go bishop here, but then the king runs here. But that seems like a good plan. I would probably go ahead with that. Okay, 26 seconds. Let's see. Bishop. What else could we do? I think we need to get that queen on. I think we need to get the queen on. Time has come to put that queen on. Queen here, king here. But then what? Oh. Oh. But what's the idea? Because the point is, by doing this, you just... I think he's lost it. Oh, I mean, you're going to have to put the knight back on. He's only got a knight and queen left. Oh, he's got knight here. Maybe. Takes, king here, queen here, king here. Okay, we're back. He's going to run towards the knight and try and take this knight. In the meantime, the immediate mate is actually defended, so he didn't have to go so hard. Could just go pawn here. Be a kind of crazy idea. But no, he sacked a bit too hard here, I'm afraid. Doesn't have anything to show for it. And 7 seconds on the clock, so this is really tough. Just got checks. He needed to get the queen on, that's very sad. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I did give him some advice on a few days ago. I said usually the queen is like the last piece you get on in the mate, and unfortunately this is one of those examples where you had to get that queen on early, because often you put your knight on and your rook, and the queen kind of mates the king at the edge of the board. But this is one of the examples where you wanted the queen on, king takes knight, bishop on, something like king here. It wasn't clear exactly. Okay, so he's just throwing checks at this point, and it's kind of slipped away. So that's quite sad. Then you got a pawn and a bishop. King has to go somewhere like here, and we have this mate with a pawn. If king here, then knight here is a discovered mate, and if king here, then knight takes pawn maybe, and then a pawn here would be checkmate. Oh, he's got another queen as well. Okay, so knight here, discovered mate coming up. So it's a double checkmate. Yeah, that's quite sad. So critical position was when he threw away his knight. So actually, we were discussing this at g2. Yeah, so at g3 apparently is one of the engine's preferred moves, and that makes a lot of sense because you're stopping knight at h5. And at g2, the problem is bishop takes g2, and yeah, if you take it, you run the risk of this. Well, the mate I was describing earlier was this one. If you run down, it's not all over because you don't have to run down. You could just run up. I didn't see a mate with king g3, but apparently king g3 also gets mated because of this. And if here you're getting a bishop, and then the bishop is coming in here, so that looks very dangerous. But king h3, it's not the end of the world, but just that king is very hard to defend. But anyway, what you all want to see is the checkmate at the end. So again, at f5, he needs to get in at g2, basically. So for example, if at g2, queen takes g2, and then knight h4 threatens winning the queen, or if the queen moves, you're getting a pawn here, takes, and you're winning the queen. That would be one sort of idea. So getting in on g2, I was thinking actually something slower, but attacking g2, but that's quite smart because white can then defend. So just putting a pawn on g2 and then hitting it was powerful. Okay, but at this point, he was doing, Colin was doing really well when he got the queen in hand. And at this point, takes g4, takes, rook here check, here. I would be thinking, so takes, and he has two checks. So this one, so apparently even better was here check first, apparently, because if king f1, what you do is you block off the king's escape route. So if he runs again, you go queen at f1, and this is the only square, and knight h5 covers the escape. Okay, so that's if he tries to run, and if he tries to block, then we have back rank mate. So that was the idea. And if he takes, then we have knight here check. And the idea of that is we can then put a rook here. So if he comes running after you, you check him, blocking him off, and then, oh, we don't have a rook. Oof, that's not good. So I got it completely wrong. Knight f3 was stronger. So if he tries to run, you simply have checkmate. So he has to try and run up. But then I was going to say do knight here, but there's an even stronger move, which is bishop at h1, which is very, very, very cute. You're protecting the knight. He can't run up again. He has to go back. Okay, so that's quite hard to see. So I guess in this position there were three squares which were entry squares, and it was seeing that this covers there one square here and two squares here, and you put this on the one square here, and that frees up both these squares. So that was the best way of doing it. But the way he did it also worked. And after here, so what I was thinking was queen here, king takes knight, bishop at d1. The reason that not bishop here is that way we keep as much control as possible on the back rank of these two squares. So he has to go here or here. And we still got lots of pieces in hand. Remember, we have the mate threat covered. At some point, there could be a threat of knight here check, like happened in the game. But we got some checks left. We have, okay, this pawn is covered, so we've got to be a little bit careful. So, well, here, if the king runs up, we can use pawns, I guess. Here, if king runs up again, we have here checkmate. So that if he runs up, he's running into trouble, I think. Yeah. So, and if he runs back, then we have, okay, we can even pick up a bishop. So we can take all of these things, and that's also checkmate. And if he ever tries to run away this way, we have just the queen coming into here, blocking off his escape. So Royal Mania, so he saw knight at c7. Computer says -15 for pawn at f3. And Joey tries, wow, that was an exciting game. So pawn at f3 was the move, apparently, which I missed. So after this, pawn at f3, well, that's a good find. I just assumed that's, defended once, attacked twice. So let's see why. Takes, takes, takes. Ah, I see. And just hit it. Or even better, hit it with your existing piece, so you still have a knight in hand. And yeah, you're threatening knight here, pawn here. Or even better, what's even better? Even better, you do this, threatening knight here, checkmate. That looks good. And if he blocks with the pawn, then you take it. And white, and okay, this knight all the while is protected, and now we're still threatening this checkmate. Oof, so what does he do? He might take here, take here. Okay, so we're winning the queen. It's kind of game over. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I'll show you just a few of the other games in the league. Still a great result for our team. We won this series 11 games to 3. We won the match. As I said, between 12 team and don't at h6 me. I'll just leave that. And then if I just scroll slowly down, Shaka Zulu against Loch Ness Monsters had rapid variance against the finisher, 7-7. And I'm going to show you a game from a couple of these other matches as well. And Zigzag Team against Pawn Pulverizers finished with Pawn Pulverizers winning 8.5, 5.5. I don't know if it's just cut off by your screen, but Joanna tries just one earlier today for the Pawn Pulverizers. Okay, so quickly I want to show you some stuff. So this was Darubaru White against Mohar. Well, actually, it could take a while if I want to analyze this properly. So, knight f6, bishop d3, e6. But this was a bit of a wild game. So Darubaru was white, and I think he was winning basically most of the game. And the reason he was winning is black played g6, which might be fine in normal chess, but in Crazyhouse is just terrible. I mean, you might play h6 even and say that weakens g6, but the problem with g6 is you're weakening h6, f6, and if you're going to create that weakness, you have to fix it as soon as possible. So white played here, takes, takes. So even here, black had knight takes pawn, and then just put a pawn on g7 as being an idea. But he took here, takes, and I'd be tempted just to go, I mean, I don't know what the engine says, just go pawn at g7 here. But okay, takes, takes, and now go pawn at g7. And really, he should have gone pawn at g7. Really, like if you're going to play g6, you must try and fix up these weaknesses. And even pawn at g7 is no good, because I suspect black would go at h6. So that's why we see the second best move from black is f5. Wow. Okay, so it's just trying to cover f6 by give it some extra protection. Like you've played crazy with g6, you have to go f5 next. Okay, so now you took d4, and of course this means white could just come in and start attacking these squares. That wasn't the best way to, yeah, so the fastest way of attacking was at f6 straight away. Okay, this allowed f6, which is actually quite reasonable defense. Takes, 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 and we're opening up the f file, so we've got ideas of at f3. But black's problems all stem from just playing this move g6. King here, and here white played a move which looks very reasonable, just increasing the pressure. Here, the problem with this move, and I think I noticed it in the game, is there's a little trap here. So you can go knight at h3, takes, and then knight at f3, king h1, and then take this bishop. Actually, I'm wondering, is f3 or h3 better? Apparently, f3 is better. Can't think why, but apparently if you then take here, so if the king just moves, you're winning a free piece. So that's clearly better. And if he does this, okay, I see. So the reason it's better is because then you have two knights focusing in on that f3 square at the end of it all. And white might have some checks, but you just drop back and it should be fine. And he probably defends with something at g2, but then you go at h3. And actually it's black with the big attack and, you know, -8 advantage. So, yeah, real opportunity missed. And obviously if the king just sidesteps, which apparently is better, you're taking that bishop, you're relieving a lot of the dark square pressure around your king, and black is doing very well. But that's a bit of a trick, so quite easy to miss that. Okay, so black played instead defensively. Now this is very important. If you want to defend f6, you should defend with a new pawn, a new piece. And why is that? Because you have all these pieces in hand, and you need to each one you need a tempo to use them. You can only use one move to put on one piece. So by going here, you're not only not putting these pieces in hand, but also this bishop was doing something here. It was defending this square. So this becomes an idea. And apparently there are much stronger moves available at h6, and knight e5 is suggesting in the... So let's see, if at h6 I just drop down, what's it saying? Takes, at g7, yeah. And at some point, yeah, I can see why e5, knight e5 at some point, if you could get knight e5 in, is good because it'd be controlling this square and the rook here is mating. So these sorts of ideas are good. But okay, this is why moving the existing piece was not so strong. So check, drops back, takes, knight h3, just trying to create a weakness, which is a good policy, then queen takes, bishop at g7, and now black is losing his queen with check, so it's basically game over. Pestine says you also block the queen from coming over to that side of the board. Presumably this is an earlier position which I've lost track of, so apologies for that. So you lost the queen with checks, but yeah, congrats on the 1-1 against Colwem. Lucky in the second game, but luck is earned. Okay, so bishop here, queen takes pawn check. So unfortunately with these moves, white is still winning, but is giving, so apparently pawn at h6 here was very strong, followed by queen takes bishop. King f7, it's quite hard to see this in fact, but yeah, even rook at g7, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then your queen is coming in if you take it, if you don't take it, yeah, this is all over very soon. But anyway, what happened instead was queen takes pawn, so black is getting a chance to get some pieces in defense. Takes, but his king is a little bit trapped on the h-file. And this move at e7 completely missed what white's threat was, which is rook here check, pawn takes, queen takes, checkmate. So any move in this position you have to guard this square. And it's quite hard to do. I mean, you might think something like knight at g7 or something. Or bishop at f3 is suggested by the engine. So it's quite a nice idea to combine defense and attack. So if we go bishop at f3 and you take it with the pawn, maybe we got mate. Yeah, wonderful, we actually got mate. Pawn g2, king takes pawn, let's just try and calculate it. Knight here check, so if the king goes back we have checkmate, so he has to step up. So this is an example of, okay, now he's only got one square to go to, but it seems all very forced, just knight here, king here, and pawn here. Oh, it's not quite checkmate, but bishop takes pawn, pawn takes is checkmate. So quite easy checkmate if you take with the pawn. If you take with the queen, well, we're winning a whole queen, so that can't be bad. So now at least we have a threat, which is queen here check, rook takes, and knight takes smothered mate. Hi there, methane bro. So that's actually quite a brilliant move. Bishop at f3, completely missed that idea. It's still completely losing, but that kind of move would really be quite testing. So apparently it calls for a move like this. So if you go then chasing the queen, maybe you've got rook takes pawn. If pawn takes rook, queen takes is checkmate. If king here, we're going to have some discoveries, and it's also going to be checkmate. Or actually, this is going to be checkmate. Okay. So yeah. So that's the appropriate defense to bishop f3, rook at g3. But okay, what was played in the game was this, and the mate was missed. Instead, the queen moves to a dark square diagonal, but actually the dark square diagonals can be easily defended by at g5. He just took, and then here, clearly taking with the knight is better, because it keeps as many pieces as possible around the king, but most importantly, it guards the g7 square. By taking with the bishop, he's allowing bishop at g7. King runs, g4. I would say, yeah, g4 is risky because it means his own king safety is compromised. So if he finds mate, great. But if he doesn't, his own king might be weak. So at g4, it looks slightly safer. And also g2 defends. Oh, okay, actually the knight protects this, so that's no good. But this feels slightly safer anyway. You could do something like this. If king h5, then g4, because you can see you have mate in 2. So you kind of save the g4 for when you... Okay, so it turns out... So if you do play g4, what I'm trying to say is you better have the mate all calculated. So king takes... and okay, f3 was the move. If the king went here, then at g3. If king takes g4... yeah, so king h5, and then at g4 is checkmate. Okay, so there were plenty of mates in this position. But, okay, but white went for something a bit more complicated, which is rook at g3. Okay, king h4 is kind of forced just to try and keep control of the material. Takes the knight, takes the rook, and back check, come back, g3, come back, and it's all looking quite pear-shaped. Actually, in this position, it would be obvious. A more obvious thing to do would be to just go like this, so that if you go here, then you can go at g2. Does this make a difference? Maybe it makes no difference whatsoever. Yeah, no, the king still has this square to come back to, so it doesn't make that much difference. Okay, so you did at g3 back, g4 takes. Time for f3, but okay. He checked with the knight, that's also good. h4. Checked with the pawn. Okay, again, the problem is losing control of this square, but okay. Checks with the pawn. Here, knight f3. And the thing is, you could take the knight. It's actually an interesting question of, do you want to take the knight in this position? Because the problem is, if you go here, there's knight takes bishop, check. So I think there is a case for taking the knight. Although the problem with taking the knight is, and if king takes g4, there's rook g1, and that's coming in and checking you a lot. Checking you to here, and then you have to step back to here, and then a pawn is mating you. So taking the knight makes sense, but obviously the disadvantage is the white queen is now coming back to defend the king. Oof! And the problem with that move is it just ran into mating 1. So what should we do? We obviously have to defend against this mating 1. So any move we play should be somehow defending this mate, if possible with an eye on g2. But it's very difficult to know what to play here. But anyway, black played this, and white missed the mate in 1, played this instead. And now suddenly it's black who has mate. This forces the queens off. Knight here, check. And in this position, white resigned. He should have probably just played it on. Like, obviously, if the king goes back, it's checkmate. But given the missed mates from both sides, this is still possible to miss this mate. So we have 2 pawns, 2 knights, a rook, and 2 queens. Okay, the 2 queens are going to be too much. King e3. We just want this square is covered, but how to finish this off? Maybe use a new knight here. So if the king runs here, we might have some kind of discoveries, like knight takes bishop, and then... Okay, for some reason I'm not seeing it. Okay, if the king runs here, where's the mate? Maybe queen here and pawn here. So all these squares... squares are not covered. Okay, but so if king runs here, just knight here, check, will do the job. Here and queen here, checkmate. Yeah, that's easy. That was the easy case. Now the more difficult case here. So in this case, I'm thinking of something kind of smart, which is this. Is that the best way of doing things? Probably not. So the idea of this is if he tries to run away, we can pick up the bishop with check, pick up the rook with check, and yeah, we're getting it on the back rank. Okay, so I'll just cheat. What is the fastest mate from this position? Queen at e3. Okay, I completely missed that. Using the pin. King d1, queen takes rook. So you win a rook with check and rook on the back rank. Okay, so that was a crazy game. In the end, actually, white just resigned in this position. So I mean, white was winning the whole game, but just couldn't find the mates. Then there was another crazy game between Adande and J.W. Wells 42. And again, I'll look at it from black's perspective. And this game, well, it also swung one way and the next. No, first of all here, this sacrifice from Adande is not good because after this, you can just take this. So it's actually a free piece. But he sacks a piece back, then takes, bishop backs off, defends. At g5, doesn't like at g5. So the problem in this position, basically, is this pawn was hanging. But it's risky because there might be some trade here. So instead of... d6 is a good developing move, and white really needs to develop his pieces. But yeah, by doing this, let's just turn the engine on. d4 is a possibility, bishop at h4 is a possibility, discarding f2. But d3 and d4 are the best moves, basically, because you just want the queen side needs development. By doing this, well, black was already tempted to take here. After all, this knight defends f7. So now, okay, we take it. And here we might have second thoughts about taking back the rook, because white does have a bishop check, winning the knight. So it's quite tempting actually just to go at f2 as well. Rook takes pawn, knight takes rook, and maybe that's something. Apparently the best move from the engine is queen takes g5, just ignoring the rook. And also taking the rook is also very good. So he took the rook, but then the check is bishop. I'm sure it's bishop at d5, right? So yeah, bishop at d5 is the move here. The problem with this is that enables you to actually defend. So you might think bishop at d5, you could defend the rook, but that really doesn't work because, well, I was thinking pawn here, but apparently that's not so good because then white has at f2. And the problem with that is we have a second knight in hand for g3, so actually this is actually quite a big issue for white. So queen f3 check is actually quite a good idea. So Adande had a good... it's a good idea because it does provide coverage for f3. So actually here, queen f3, and the idea is that you can't even block. So queen f3 and then at f4 maybe would have been... If you try and block, maybe that's an idea. So if you try and block with at f6 or something, oh, there's even queen takes knight. Okay, so actually this is quite okay. Apparently black is better, but okay. But with this, black is really crushing. Here, very smart move, just backing off, because if you try and block something like this, white actually just has queen takes f5. Now apparently black is still winning, so that's how difficult this position is for white. just because he hasn't developed his pieces well. He has to use just the pieces in hand. So he just backs off, takes the knight, and very nice move from black. You don't want to just take back, or you'd open up all kinds of trouble on f7. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but just a much more solid move. That pawn is protected by the bishop. Just go rook check and pick up the bishop with the rook. Seems to make sense. Apparently picking up the pawn also works, but okay. Bishop here check, blocks. He went for knight here check. Yeah, so unfortunately by blocking now rook takes is not on offer. And yeah, probably the move here is pawn here. And the move I was expecting actually, just even in this position, is either takes or go pawn at e2. It's really quite hard for white to defend. He might defend with the knight, but you just go takes, take again. Okay, we don't have any more pawns, but white only has pawns in hand, so he's wasted his knight, so you could even just do this. And you're threatening dropping a bishop here, I guess, in future, or other ideas. But okay. So what happened in the end was knight here checks, king here attacks the rook and the knight, takes. Yeah, somehow taking the knight doesn't feel like the best choice. Taking the bishop, however, and the king can't take this knight because of bishop at d1. Queen could take the knight, I guess, but then pawn could take the bishop. And this is also pretty bad for white. So rook takes bishop was the move. Rook takes knight is exchanging a very good rook for a very bad knight. We no longer have a rook on his back rank, so it's a bit of a shame. Okay, but knight takes bishop does come with a big threat, and the threat is not defended. So we win a queen. Of course, the best move here is to take the piece, not necessarily to take back. In fact, the move I was suggesting here is something like takes once and then grab, something like this. Bishop here, check, block, and then grab. And that way at least white gets some kind of measure of safety. Okay, minus 15 still. Okay, but what happened in the game is white doesn't even get, okay, white does get a piece. But, okay. Now something to be really aware of here is this knight covers this square. So white would be restricted to the back rank if only we could cover this square. And we can. We simply put a queen here. You may block, say with the bishop. If you block with the rook, we have pawn here and then takes the rook and rook here. So say block with the bishop. Pawn here, check. And notice the king is restricted to the back rank. So takes here. There's not much that white can do. So there's something to notice here for J.W. Wells is restricting the king to the back rank. The knight does a great job of restricting this square, so you just need to cover this square and the king would be in the back rank, restricted to the back rank. But instead he did this, and this gives, he picks up an extra attacker, but he's giving white a chance to defend. Yeah, check. So he has the queen in hand, but it's just struggling to find the mate. Okay, so queen at c1 is really nice, because if king takes knight, we have pawn here, king here, and queen takes bishop check, king here, and queen here is checkmate. While if king here, we got queen takes bishop straight away, king here, queen there, check. Now we've got a bishop in hand. So if he takes this, then we obviously have this bishop and queen working together, covering squares. And if he doesn't take it, the knight still covers this square, so we could just go bishop here, checkmate. Okay, so he did the queen at f1, but then what happened? Pawn at c4. So he let the king get away by not playing queen takes bishop. And he only takes the bishop here. Now the king has got some measure of safety. So Black is still winning, black still has forced mate, but he's just suddenly made it more complicated for himself. He's only got a bishop in hand, maybe he'll go queen here and bishop here. Maybe. So queen e1, if here, yeah, bishop here, takes, and that would be checkmate. And if there's any block on f2, we just take it. But instead he went for a bishop, king h3, discovering a check from this bishop, but this is not good because black can defend on a square that's protected, and does, puts a new piece in hand, and now, oof, now white was very safe just with bishop takes. Okay, not winning, but he's actually safe. But by going king takes, he's opening himself up to more checks. I mean, so for example, bishop here check, blocks, takes. It was apparently, so it's not, okay, no mate, but black has got a lot of initiatives. He did this instead, takes, bishop here, and this is actually quite difficult to calculate because, if you ever take this pawn, you are done for because you let the queen back into the game. Go here, trying to run, so all those squares are covered, so you can just go pawn here, checkmate. But you've let the queen back in the game, it's clearly all over. And if you go king takes bishop, still might be quite nice here, king g4. Okay, so it's unclear, but apparently white is doing fine. But king h3 also looked very safe. Like, how do we check this king? Rook takes h6. Okay, and now, because it's not check, white has got a pawn, 3 knights, a bishop, a queen, and it's his turn to attack. Okay, and the thing to be really aware of in this kind of position is notice black has no blockers. So back rank checks are actually quite powerful. So we can't do the usual queen here check, pawn here check business because the bishop's covering. But actually the king can't block the check. It would have to do something. It would have to go for a runner or something. I was thinking in this position bishop here as an idea. So obviously if you don't take it, you're losing immediately. So you definitely do have to take it. Oh, the computer has a line doing this, and apparently that's also checkmating, but that's quite hard to see, I think. So here, takes, king takes. Okay, actually, going even earlier back, I'm wondering, I think yeah, I was thinking this and then this. Is this not good? Bishop at c6, b takes c6, takes, keeping the queen in hand. Okay, so apparently this might also work. Gosh. Okay, so what's the mate like this? Queen here check, king here. Okay, the knight check is nice, but really hard to see. So bishop here check. If he goes there, it's easy. So then he has to take it. Takes. He has to take it. So now we've got 2 pawns and 3 knights, and surely we can finish this off. We can go knight here check. If he runs back, then we can say it's quite easy. We just go pawn here check, pawn, king here, knight here. So that's fine. What if he tries to just chase down this attacker and take it? Goodness, so we could go here, and maybe it's not that much black can do to defend. King a4, you even got like stuff like knight c3, queen takes c3, b3. The point of that was just to force the queen off, so this rook is. But okay, that's all quite complex. Queen a3. Probably easier is just to use pawns. Just go at b3. If king takes, sorry, at a3 is checkmate with a block of pawns. if, what else could he do? Takes, double check, king takes knight forced. Yeah, this would be the easiest way of finishing it off. If you can bring your queen in. Okay, and if he goes king to b6, then maybe use another knight here, and so on. So we have enough to, if he goes back to here, we've actually got checkmate with the pawn here. These two knights cover 3 squares. Okay, so there was a mate for white. He went this way, which also should be mating, I think, but Stockfish disagrees because apparently the king can run to f8 and be completely safe. So I did miss that. I missed that king f8 would be actually safe for black. He went to f7, and then of course bishop d8 is a very good move. Takes, king takes. You clear away the back rank, so very strong from white. So white's really getting a good chances here. No more blockers, so even rook here would be an interesting idea. King runs. Knight here check. Unfortunately, rook can take that knight. And even better is king can take the rook. So something went wrong again. So it's again another puzzle for white to checkmate from this position. And I think it was Rapid Variance in chat actually spotted the move in this position, which was moving the existing bishop to d5. And you can block, but then we can just go blocks, takes, and then knight at g5. So what are we doing? We're hitting the rook for sure, but we're also actually restricting this king to the back rank. So if the king goes up, it's going to get mated. Queen takes rook check, king here, and it'll be mated very soon. Rook here check, maybe king here. I mean, anything will finish it. I mean, let's just do it. If we tried to run, we'd have queen takes rook, king here. Apparently there's mate in 1 here, which I missed. Rook at f5 is mate in 1. Oh yeah, the king is protecting. Okay. So you have to try and run back down, but then the point is the king is restricted to the back rank. If you go here, queen here is checkmate. If you go here, rook at g8 is checkmate. King is restricted to the back rank. So yeah, very nice move. Knight at g5 just to finish it off. I think even queen takes rook would probably be working, but it would be a lot more complicated. Then you'd have to find knight at f8 in this position. And if you try and run, then, so there is a mate here, but it's going to be much more complicated. Rook takes g7, something like this. Knight takes rook. Knight here. Is this working? Apparently it's not working. Okay, so something much more complicated. So knight. And I think the point also is if bishop takes knight, then there's queen to f8, king to g6, f5, forces the king onto the h file, and then queen takes pawn is checkmate. Okay, worth mentioning that as well. Okay, so actually not completely easy stuff at all. It's got rather complicated at this point. Okay. So taking the knight apparently was a mistake, because then this bishop d5 idea remained, and it's still working. After this, with the knight, black had mate in 1, and he executed the mate in 1, so it was all over. So well played, JW Wells 42. He keeps up an unbeaten record in the Crazyhouse League after scoring all wins on board 7. He's now on board 6, and he's got now 2 wins out of 2. So well played him. And just to quickly finish, I wanted to play through. I don't think I can really do it justice because I haven't properly analysed it, but there was a very nice game between Zixon and GSVC. I'll probably analyse it another time, so I'll just play through it briefly now just to show. So this move from GSVC. Is it from GSVC? Yes. Okay, so 6 on against GSP. So here, how is white doing? So it's apparently about equal, this position. Yeah, white. So white is 6 on. Yeah, so white's development in the opening was a little bit slow. But having said that, yeah, it was Zixon who he takes the knight on f6, which is considered a slight inaccuracy. And yeah, and so, but what's actually quite interesting is this knight on f4 actually is quite a good piece, as we'll see. And hitting the knight makes it go to an even better square, so that was maybe a little bit of a mistake. And the knight comes in, and that's some beautiful interference with the g5 square. And now we've got a lot of things pointing at here. Grabs a rook, and now we're threatening some discoveries perhaps, so we back off. Okay, again he's hitting the rook, but very nice, just maintains defense. So discoveries are threatened again. Again, check, he defends, so discoveries are threatened again. He blocks, so he takes, and uses the pin, takes with check. So he's giving up the queen because he's recognizing that you can't get away with taking the queen. If you take the queen, we're going to take on this with check. We've got pawn at g7 probably coming in. We get a very good compensation for the queen. So he blocks. So this h-file is... and I think at this point Zixon just realized, well, black only has a knight in hand and white's got plenty of things in hand which he still wants to put on the board. So instead of continuing hard on the attack, he just backed off. So Stockfish doesn't like this at all, but I think it's just he recognized that he was material up and just needed to restrict exchanges and he would be fine. On here, now this is actually looking a little bit scary. Black has nothing in hand, and yet his king is very exposed. Knight f4, bishop, with both attacking and defending that bishop. Takes. Okay, knight in check. So in this position, knight here maybe proved a little bit costly. Takes, and black does get a little bit of an attack. And the move here was apparently king to d1. That was the only move. So we should look at this another time. But this move allowed check, blocks, knight here, check, king here, knight here, check. And the point is that if the king ever ran here, it would be knight here, check, picking up the queen, and black would be safe. So we can't do that, so we have to run here. So check back again. If we go here, we're going to be checked again. If we go here, we've got the same problem. And if we go to b2, we have the problem of c3 coming in. And then if we go to b1, we have the problem of c2 coming in. Takes. Knight to d4. So knight covers this square, the pawn covers these two squares, so we're restricted to the back rank. And suddenly we find we're mated. If we go maybe here as the best try, the knight's still coming in. So this square is covered, this square is covered, this is our last square. And oof, we don't have a pawn. Oh, but there's a pawn on the board. Oof. So that's why he didn't run to b1, to b2 rather. And why didn't he run to b1? Finally, well, the same kind of problems at c2. And it's not apparently immediately mating, but black is winning. I mean, maybe it is mating, just have to follow it through. King takes c2, knight d4, king to d1. Do you have a chance to run away with bishop at d2, king to d2? Do you have a chance to get here maybe? Okay, so the problem is you fall into the same check, winning it, picking up the queen. So black is completely winning. So black, to GSVC, managed to force the draw, and that was the first ever draw in the Crazyhouse League. Lazy MD, do I want to play any games? No, I've been going a while. I need to call the stream to an end very soon. I'm at the end of the tether, as it were. So very nice draw from GSVC to save a game which he had been. I would have liked to have gone in more detail about this game, but I need to analyze and share it properly another time. Is there anything else I should share with you? So this is the ZH League site. Here are the rosters. They're not entirely clear. Board 1s are 12-team, GSBC, The Finisher, Zixon, Rapid Variance, and King Switcher. Board 2s are myself, Pepperloo, Dutchfin, Lass 1, Amelie Player, and Spinal Tap. Board 3s are G. Rogers, PKR 5025, Lanok, Vectorveld, Darkness, spelt with numbers, and FT029. And board 4s, Laws, Charlie Horse, Eldabava, ZM Tordalf, Marlonk, Pepsi in Gaming. Board 5s, My Son Never Call Me, The Bad Fish, Chubble Chab, God Bless, 111, Easter Chess, and Upgoer 5. Board 6s are colwem, Joanna Tries, JW Wells. T9 was just coming in as an alt, so the full-time member from next week will be Lethea, Adande, and fgalla. And board 7s, probably cut off on your screen, are Moha369, Quartilio, Hyon Potneuse, The Crocodile Hunter, Zero, and Darubaru. And that's week 1 come to a close. 11-3 from our team, so great result. 7-7 between the Rapid Variance and the Finishers teams, and 8.5, 5.5 the GSVC's team won against Zixon, despite GSVC losing a game for the first time in the league and drawing a game for the first time in the league's history. So thanks everyone for watching. Got to sign off now, but hope you enjoyed the commentary of the colwem versus fgalla earlier, and just a quick recap of some of the games we've had this past week.